here, can I just state my view of what I mean by creation is necessary, and you can comment on it if that's okay.
Go ahead,
So
do whatever you
my
want.
view is this, okay? The will of God is necessary. Every decision, choice that God has made could not have been any other way, okay? It's the best possible choice. And any choice God has made, it is impossible to conceive that it could have been other way. This is my position. Is that position compatible with Islam according to you or not?
Is that position compatible with Islam? In what sense? You're saying, does that make you a non-Muslim if you believe
No,
that?
does it go against Tawhid to believe what
Yes,
I
it
just said?
does. It
So
goes
to
against
believe,
Tawhid in the sense that you're saying that God does not have free will, that creation is just necessitated by his essence. Yes, that goes against Islam because the Quran and the authentic Sunnah say otherwise.
again, I didn't say necessitated by its essence. I simply said every decision, choice that God has made could not have been any other way. And any choice that he's made, it's impossible to conceive that it could have been any other way. That's my position. Is that compatible with Tawhid or incompatible?
I take Asajistani's position in his refutation of it.
Okay, so again, can you answer, is what I just said compatible with Tawhid? God's decision could not have been any other way. Is it compatible with Tawhid or
Insofar
not?
as I understand you, your position is not in agreement with Tawhid.
Okay, so again, every decision or choice that God has made could not have been any other way. That's not compatible with Tawhid. Okay, so if a Muslim that you knew of held this view, okay, would you support their work? Would you
Depends who it
promote
is.
this? So are you okay promoting this view of God's will cannot be otherwise? Are you okay with that being taught to other Muslims?
Depends who it is.
A person who believes this is teaching this to other Muslims.
Yeah, I would have to speak to them because I can't trust your representation.
Well, look, if I believe that God's choice could not have been any other way, you would agree this doesn't meet Tawhid, right?
Well, who are we talking about? Somebody alive or dead?
I'm just giving you my position first because I don't know
5-minute
whether
warning.
you think it's okay or it's not okay to believe God's will could not have been any other way.
Yeah, I just want to know because you're talking if I know the person personally.
Yeah, you
So,
know me. I'm telling you my position because
yeah,
like
I don't believe your position is Tawhid because it goes against the text.
Okay. So my question for you then is, why is it the case that you work for someone who has the exact same position of Tawhid on God's will not being any other way as me? I actually just read to you
I don't know what you're
verbatim
talking about.
what I read to you, the words of Mohammed Hijab in his London video published 6 months ago. You can go see it. He literally says what I just said. So Mohammed Hijab is teaching a view of Tawhid that you think is not Tawhid, yet you go and work for the Sapiens Institute. So are
Can
you
you
just
read
being
it?
inconsistent here?
Can
Yeah,
you
I
read
can
it?
read it.
Go
Quote,
ahead, read it. Go ahead.
the will of God, since it's an attribute of the necessary existence, it must also be what? Necessary. Every decision, choice that God has made could not have been any other way. Since his wisdom and knowledge is perfect, you couldn't conceive that the results be any other way. It's the best possible choice that could be made. It's necessary. Any choice that God has made, it's impossible to conceive that it could have been any other way. You just said this position is against Tawhid. You work for someone, your Ustad Muhammad Hijab, who preaches
He's
this
not
on
my
YouTube.
Ustad. He's not my
Yeah, well,
Ustad.
you work for him, so I think you're being utterly inconsistent about
You're
everything.
saying he's my employer and I work for him and he's my Ustad? Where
You
did I
teach,
say
of
that?
course, you teach for someone who preaches this
Where
necessary
did
view of
where
God's
did I
will
ever say that?
that you condemn.
Where did I ever say that?
You just said it's not in line with Tawhid.
But everything about the necessary existence has to be necessary. Otherwise, it's contingent. Do you see?
But doesn't that get rid of the idea of will?
All right. In a way, if you look at it just from a deterministic perspective, we actually have studies on this. Sessions on this. We have a session on qadar, free will and determinism. There's a whole session on it, and in fact, I wrote something on that as well.
I mean about the will of God himself.
Oh, right. Yeah. So this is good. The will of God is because it's the attribute, not the will of human beings, right? The will of God is because since it's an attribute of the necessary existence, it must also be what? Necessary. Every decision, choice that God has made could not have been any other way. It's based on what? is based on his infinite knowledge. We're going to come to this, infinite knowledge and infinite wisdom. And since his wisdom and knowledge is perfect, you couldn't conceive that the results would be any other way. It's the best possible choice that can be made. It's necessary.
So is it even possible to conceive that God couldn't have chosen it?
Say that again.
So is it even impossible to conceive that God could?
Yeah. It's impossible to any choice that God has made. It's impossible to conceive that it could have been any other way.
So then you basically deny that God has will.
No, we're saying that he has will based on knowledge, and since the knowledge is perfect, the will is also connected to that. In fact, classically they divide it into these kinds of things, three different types of attributes. Ahl Sunnah, let's say, yeah. We have the intrinsic attributes of God, the sifat al-dhatiyah. Then you have the will, which stands alone, by the way, as a category. And then you have the af'al of Allah, which are the verbal attributes of Allah, or the action-based things of Allah. So the will is based on the perfect knowledge of God. Since the knowledge is perfect, and the will is based on the knowledge, what God decides to do is always going to be based on that perfect knowledge. So it's inconceivable that God does something which opposes his intrinsic attributes.